I'd give up on sleep and do the training.
Mike, this one takes the cake. Coach Greg, in today's video, I decided to do Mike O'Hearn a favor. I'm watching his Q&A, of which people are asking questions live, and I'm hearing him give all the wrong answers. And so in today's video, I'm going to give you the actual answers you're looking for. You're asking Mike what to do about this, what to do about that, of which he doesn't really know the answer. He tells you what he thinks. And so I'm going to watch his video, and rather than answering with nonsense, I'm going to give you the correct answers.
What kind of questions do you guys have?
And so Mike's reading over these questions. He's going to pick the questions that he feels like answering. Remember, he doesn't know the answers to everything. Nobody's perfect. We can't know every single answer. And so out of all the hundreds of questions you're going to ask, Mike is selecting the answers he knows the most of. And remember, don't listen to what I say because I'm not as good looking as Mike, and I'm a hobbit, aka a manlet.
And that's where the hobbit is always wrong on his knowledge. Be careful of these guys that just regurgitate information they read when the visual of them is below average.
Because remember, Mike states you can only be as good as the person that you're listening to. And where my physique is below average, why would you listen to Coach Greg? I mean, I only have a master's degree in kinesiology. What could I possibly know? And despite the fact I have world records in powerlifting and I'm an IFBB pro, well, Mike, way better than that. Why? Well, because Mike is a meme. I mean, how can I compete with a meme?
I have discovered through the years of judging and being in the health and fitness world, the hamstrings are so much more important for two reasons.
And so Mike has discovered that through his years of judging and training, I don't know which competitions he judged. I personally am a certified bodybuilding judge. I actually judge at competitions, myself and Allie. We do this multiple times a year. But I guess Mike, he judges way more than Coach Greg. And so what would I know? And he states the hamstrings are far more important than the quads. I don't know if he means that to win a bodybuilding show, you need to have better hamstrings in comparison to the quads, but his opinion, the hamstrings far superior. And so let's hear why.
That's where the real athletic ability comes from, the glutes and hams relative to the quads. And then also for life and longevity.
Athletic ability, it comes from the hamstrings. Well, hamstrings and the glutes. And for longevity, well, that's in your hamstrings. And so what are we talking about right now? Are we talking about winning a bodybuilding competition? You need to have better hamstrings than quads? Because if so, I'm going to say it's the exact opposite. It's much more important to have better quads than it is to have better hamstrings. A lot of top IPB pros from the rear, they don't have very impressive hamstrings. I, for one, my hamstrings are my best body part. In comparison to anything else, my hamstrings stick out the most. And isn't it ironic that the hamstrings are the most important also for longevity? Yet Mike O'Hearn says Coach Greg doesn't know anything. And so if in fact it is the hamstrings, well, I got it made. Probably going to live to be at least 100. Triple digits. After all, I have amazing hamstrings. And your athleticism, how good you are in sports, clearly come from the hamstrings. And so considering my hamstrings are my best body part, I must be amazing. I bet if I played football, I would make the NFL, or at least the CFL. And if I tried my best at basketball, I'd probably be slam dunking. Why? Because, well, I have amazing hamstrings. And Mike O'Hearn, who's a judge and has done this for years, well, he says so. Yay, Mike.
That's going to keep the knees healthy.
And because of this, it's going to keep your knees healthy. After all, why would you need to have strong quads? I mean, how is that relevant? Why would you need that? But if you have the strong hamstrings and a hard derriere, well, you got it made. You're going to have really strong knees. Well, why is it that I have a meniscus tear and that it hurts my knee, Mike? My hamstrings are my best body part, yet my knees are bad. I have difficult time doing walking lunges with my right leg. I once was on crutches for multiple months, despite my amazing hamstrings. And so it's funny that my knee's actually bad. I don't have a good knee, but that my hamstring's my strongest body part. And so maybe, just maybe, Mike got this one wrong. Not sure. How could you trust Coach Greg? I'm only 5'6".
Hey, Mike, I'm a college student thinking about getting into working out, but I can't get time for the gym.
Yeah, I'd give up on sleep and do the training.
Guys, girls, circles. I didn't write the script. And so the question comes up, I don't have enough time to go to the gym. I'm in university. What should I do? Is there a faster program? Maybe you have a 30-minute workout or something? Mike's response, give up on sleep. And so Mike literally says the exact opposite of what every sleep expert in the world is going to tell you. And so if there's one thing I'm going to tell you, do not sacrifice on your sleep. Mike says, when I was in university, when I was in school, I gave up on sleep to make sure I get my workouts in. Get up perhaps 4 or 5 in the morning. Get your workout in. Skip out on sleep. Sleep 8 hours? Who needs that? Sleep 5, but make it to the gym. And so sleep, not important, more important to get to the gym. Does anyone actually believe this? And so what the studies actually suggest is that if you don't sleep enough, your body, it cannot recover. And so if you're on a diet, for example, you're on a cut, and so you don't have time to do cardio and or lift weights, you say, I'm just going to set the alarm, I'm going to just cut back on sleep. Why would I need all the sleep? I need to go train, I need to do cardio. If you do that in comparison to those who don't, they're both going to lose about the same amount of weight. The problem is the ones who didn't get enough sleep, because they said, oh, I'll just sacrifice sleep in order to go to the gym, they lost almost half their weight as muscle. So in comparison, it makes no sense. And so imagine you lose 20 pounds, but half of it, 10 pounds, it's actually muscle. And so why? Well, because you took Mike O'Hearn's advice. And so if you don't have time, Mike says just don't sleep enough. Just set the alarm, get it done, and who cares? You don't need your sleep. And Coach Greg says it's the opposite. Do not sacrifice sleep. And so you have to cut out on your sleep to go to the gym. It's not worth it. You need to find a different way. Perhaps cut down on watching Netflix. Or I know, instead of watching Mike O'Hearn's Q&A, you go to bed.
The main thing for me was the workouts at 4 o'clock in the morning so I can then work through the day and go to the castings and do the personal training and whatever that was when I was 19, 20, 21.
And so remember, he was 19, 20, 21, and clearly 100% natural. I mean, what was he? 270 pounds of muscle at 16? 100% natural. Remember, he's never taken performance-enhancing drugs. And to this day, even though he's sponsored by an HRT clinic, he doesn't take HRT. He doesn't take peptides. He just promotes them. He's 100% natural, right? Remember, he smiles a lot and is good looking and he's a meme. And because he's taller and better looking, his advice, it's better than mine. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Solid. Reverse grip bench is the best movement for arm wrestling. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I would 100% agree with that. That's gonna make you so strong. Those elbows and stuff, yeah.
And so Mike's advice, the best exercise for arm wrestling? I mean, you could take Mike's advice, right? He's a world-class arm wrestler. Why would you listen to Larry Wheels or any of the guests who's arm wrestled him? And the number one exercise you should be performing, reverse grip bench press. It's going to make your elbows so strong. Remember Mike O'Hearn reverse grip benching 495? Probably more than the world record for anyone his size and weight and age. But Mike, he's got the world record and 100% natural. And so the reverse grip bench, that is the best possible exercise anyone could do for arm wrestling. And so does anyone think that to be true? And in case you're wondering, the number one exercise you can do to help your arm wrestle, it's to actually arm wrestle. The principle of specificity applies. What does that mean? Well, it means that what you're doing in training should resemble what you're doing in competition as close to as possible. And so if you want to be a good runner, you run. Good swimmer, you swim. Good biker, you ride the bike. Are there any accessory exercise you can do? Well, yes, of course. But the reverse grip bench press, not nearly going to be as good as someone who's actually pushing down on a weight in the same motion they're going to do when arm wrestling.
My best arm growth was off of 9 sets per week. And I just watched almost 2. The linguistics was too deep and too depth for me, but a great study and discussion from Mike Mentzer.
And remember, Mike is saying there's a beautiful study. It was so amazing, but I don't understand the linguistics of it. It's above my head. I didn't really understand the article, but what it talked about is how many days should you rest between body parts? You know, should you rest 2 days off, a week, 2 weeks, 72 hours? What's the answer? Well, let's listen to Mike.
But he talked about from 7 days to 21 days a body part.
Mike's saying that Mike Mentzer said, every 21 days, that's how often you should train your arms.
And I loved his analogy because you basically go to the gym and you break yourself and you tear the muscles and now it's down. And now you got to fill that hole back up. And so there's a couple days there that you're just feeding it to try to get it to recover.
Mike O'Hearn is saying every 7 days, and it's analogous to digging a hole. When you go to the gym, you're tearing down the muscle like digging a hole. And the days following that, you're refilling that hole. Eventually, once it's at its peak, you're going to have a slight mound. The hole is no longer a hole, it's actually a slight mountain. And when you retrain that muscle, it's when that hole is refilled and at a slight peak. when it's at its best. And you keep doing this, you dig the hole, it refills it, and in the course of days, months, and or years, that hole keeps getting higher. And perhaps eventually you have a mountain of a muscle like the peak on a bicep. Now, how I like to explain it, it's like having a brick wall. When you go to the gym, it's like having a hammer and tapping on that wall. You have some slight cracks. And then the next day, you go and you put cement on it. And it repairs itself, gets thicker and stronger. And a few days later, you tap on that again, make some cracks, and they repeat the process over and over again. Eventually, that wall keeps getting thicker and thicker in the same sense as you do your muscles. And so Mike is saying it takes about a week, perhaps even longer, to repair that wall. No, it doesn't. What the actual research says is you should be training each body part 2 to possibly 3 times a week. And so if you only train your arms once a week, you need to do 10 to 20 sets in total for any given body part. Closer to 10 if you're Michael Hurd, closer to 10 if you train hard. And closer to 20 if you don't train so hard. And so if you train each body part once a week, perhaps 10 hard sets, that's more than enough. I'm talking about for an advanced lifter. Beginner, don't need to even do nearly that much. And if you train each body part twice a week, then you could perhaps do 5 sets on each day. If you're training each body part 3 times a week, well, clearly you could do, for example, 3, maybe 4 sets on each given body part 3 days a week.
And for all you guys that are sitting here going, I'm a savage, I train legs 3 times a week.
Yeah, you could in fact train legs 3 sets a week. Imagine you go to the gym and you only do 2 sets for legs 3 days a week. That's 6 total sets. That's not much. In comparison, imagine you do it once a week and you did 20 sets. Who is doing too much? Who is doing too little? Who will see better progress? And so regardless of how often you want to train, that is totally up to you. What you then need to do is decide how many given sets should I do on any given day so that you can recover and repair. If you only train once a week, you're going to be brutally sore. Every time you train legs, you're going to be walking with a limp for days. But if you're training legs 3 days a week, you train them a little bit, the next day you feel pretty good, and the day after you're good to train again. Consider cardio. People who bike ride, for example, Coach Greg, will ride their bike 6 or 7 days a week. Do you think that's too much? Should I only be biking once a week? Well, possibly. Imagine if I rode 300 miles in one day. How often would I have to do that to improve my bike ride? Probably just once a week. But what we do as bike riders, as athletes, is we split up our cardiovascular training on each given day. We do different things. We spread it out. Same as we do with weightlifting. You don't have to do the exact same workout 3 times a week. You might perhaps be focusing more on your quads one day, more on your hamstrings the next. But what Mike is saying is, I hope you guys realize you can't train legs 3 times a week. That is impossible. If you do, you're an idiot. Well, no, Mike. The research literally says that you can.
I hope that kind of dawns on you that that's probably not the smartest thing in the world. And again, I think most of you think that you're the badass if you do a body part 2-3 times a week. Right now, we're doing a body part twice a week, but that's because we're slicing down and we're only doing it for 10 weeks.
Oh, and so Mike says you're only supposed to train each body part once a week. But now because we're slicing down, we're training each body part twice a week. Well, listen, Mike, whatever you do to get the size in the first place, you should continue to do to keep that size as you diet down for a show. And so it's better to train each body part twice a week. You should be doing that year round. You don't have to. You could, of course, double up your training and do it all in one day. But consider this. Wouldn't you rather go to the gym and do less on any given day rather than completely annihilate your legs on one day? And so when we compare this theory to that wall analogy, imagine just taking a hammer and chipping at it a little bit, putting a little bit of cement, letting it dry, versus going in with a sledgehammer, breaking it halfway down and having to fix the whole thing, waiting for a week to 21 days for it to dry.
Stretch all before or after a workout.
During the workout.
During.
I stretch within the exercise that I'm performing.
And so should you stretch before or after workout? Mike's response, you stretch during the exercise, during the workout, and you stretch the exact muscle you're training on that exact day. And so what does the research actually say? It says to stretch a muscle after you've trained it. Once the muscle's warm, once it's been worked out, at the end of the workout, that is the best time to stretch. If you're sitting on a chair, relax your muscle and jump up in the air, you're not going to have nearly as much power as if you stand up, bend down and jump up. On the way down, you're loading the muscles, pre-stretching them, and can explode outwards. Try it. I literally did this experiment. We were doing vertical jump tests in university. We had people sit on a chair, jump as high as you can, versus take the chair out, bend down, and jump as high as you can. You can jump several inches higher by loading up the muscles and quickly bending yourself down, followed by an explosion out of the hole. But lo and behold, if you stretch those muscles, especially for long periods of time, do static stretching, and your muscles are already stretched, and you go to then jump, you will not jump as high. We've done the experiments. And you know why? Because the stretch reflex is in fact diminished. And so if you want to have maximum force during a workout, you're not going to do a bunch of stretches before or during your exercises. And so that's what the real research says. But how would I know this? I mean, I only have a master's in kinesiology. I only literally did these experiments. Mike is literally way better looking and way taller than me. So how could I know? I'm just a manlet, or at best a hobbit. I mean, how could I possibly know anything?
The question was, is calisthenics good for building muscle? No, it's not.
And next question, are calisthenics good for building muscle? Mike's answer, no, they are not. I mean, I didn't write these questions down. You're thinking I planned this out. I'm literally watching this as I'm going. Now, I know if you're already advanced, have access to a commercial gym, it's going to be better to go to these commercial gyms. But you can, of course, build muscle through calisthenics. Imagine Andrew Tate went to jail. He doesn't have access to amazing gym equipment, but you can still build muscle in jail. Not to mention, remember that time where you couldn't go to gym because there was some kind of thing going around? You know, it was like Halloween, everyone was wearing masks. Well, during that time, a lot of people trained at home. Not everyone lost a lot of muscle. And so I guess push-ups don't do anything for the pecs and triceps, and pull-ups, that can't help you to build biceps or a wonderful back. And squats, what could that possibly do to your legs? I mean, after all, you need to go to a commercial gym, have all the fancy exercises, so you can do all these fancy machines. How could you possibly build muscle with calisthenics? Thanks, Mike. Great tip.
If you have to give me a choice, I'd be less active and I'd eat right. I would skip workouts to make sure I eat right. That's what I would do.
Mike, this one takes the cake. You're amazing. Is Mike literally acting right now? Is he a method actor? Is he a method actor pretending he doesn't know anything and he answers these questions with the exact opposite advice? And so here's the question. I'm going to lay it out for you. Love this, Mike. I've always been active. So guy's active with weight. He's doing everything right. Except his diet, that's his problem. Any advice for that? Mike's advice, you should work out less, stop being so active, and then eat right. And so, yeah, instead of doing cardio lifted weights 6 days a week, work out and do cardio 3 days a week, and now eat right. That's the solution. And so he should burn off fewer calories, don't go to gym as much, decrease his exercise need, his metabolism, and then just suddenly eat better. Do you know what's going to happen if he does that? He's going to eat worse. Think of it. Go to the gym, being active. That's using up a lot of his free time, his boredom. When you're bored, you're more likely to eat. So you're telling me to reduce his activity, going to cause me even more bored and even more likely to eat poorly. And so imagine if Mike had just said, you know what you should do? Get Coach Greg's cookbook. Do you know how easy that would be? You get the book, low-calorie, delicious meals for the big eater. How could you go wrong? Delicious recipes, made easy. Not hard to make. Do I look like a chef? I can make all these recipes. It's no problem. And if you don't have any money and you can't afford it, he can, of course, go to Coach Greg's website. I'm giving away a free diet and training program. It's free. Mike, did you know that? You can tell all your viewers to head over to Greg's website, hdltsups.com, giving away a free diet and training program. I want everyone to have access to free knowledge information in order to be the healthiest versions of themselves possible. And of course, I also want to get rich. Of course I do. And so I have a vast array of supplements that can help almost everyone. From your creatines, protein powders, pre-workouts, to your GO2 Max with NMN, of which everyone's talking about it. No, not M&M's, NMN. To Ecti Builder, which has various Ecti steroids. And of course, beta-alanine, pre-workouts, pre-workout pump stims. The list goes on and on. Head over to my website, Code Greg 10% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops. Follow me on the gram. It's Greg Doucette, IFBB Pro. You don't want to miss out what's going on there. And also the cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, the Circle Diet Book, and my Harder Than Last Time clothing line. Get it all. Click the link in the description. That free diet and training program. It's free. Head over to the website right now. And until next time, I am out.